Picture a coffin shaped like a human body, fronted with a carved, almost peaceful face. But as the heavy iron doors begin to open, you see exactly what it was built for. The interior is lined with long, precisely positioned iron spikes. They are angled to pierce the body the exact moment the maiden closes around its victim. It is a terrifying concept, and it is completely fictional. There is not a single authentic medieval record describing this device in use or even existence. The spiked cabinets we see in museums today were actually built centuries later, in the 17 and 1800s. They were fabricated from unrelated antique parts to sell tickets to a public hungry for Gothic horror and ticketed spectacles. The Iron Maiden is a modern invention, a Gothic mask that has, for centuries, obscured the far more organized and legal reality of historical punishment. Unlike those museum fakes, the rack was entirely real. Its use is documented meticulously in European court records for hundreds of years. The mechanics were brutally simple. A prisoner was bound by the wrists and ankles to rollers at either end of a wooden frame. As the rollers turned, the ropes drew tight, tearing muscles and eventually pulling joints completely from their sockets. This was a formal legal tool. Courts and inquisitions applied precise mechanical stretching to extract confessions for crimes like heresy or treason. This engraving shows a man bound to the breaking wheel, a structure designed for public spectacle. On the left, an executioner holds a heavy iron hammer, used to systematically strike and shatter the major bones in the victim's limbs. The ordeal dragged on long after the bones broke. The shattered limbs were woven through the wheel's spokes and hoisted onto a tall pole, left exposed to the elements and carrion birds for days. These methods turned pain into a formal instrument of the legal system, using public suffering as a visible warning to anyone watching. Some legal punishments skipped the devices entirely, focusing on the slow destruction of the body. In several regions, courts legally mandated counterfeiters be lowered into vats of boiling water or oil. This ancient relief shows a much older practice, flaying, or the removal of skin from a living body. Ancient empires recorded this as a political warning meant to deter future rebellion. Then there was impalement. The condemned were pierced with long stakes and raised upright, left fully exposed until they succumbed to their injuries. This woodcut depicts the most infamous practitioner of that method, Vlad III of Wallachia, casually dining while a landscape of impaled victims looms in the background. The fear he generated was so severe that his name transitioned from historical fact into the Gothic legend of Dracula, recorded by Bram Stoker. Impalement stood as the ultimate example of punishment used not just to end a life, but to broadcast a message of absolute power to invading armies. These devices and methods were not the work of rogue sadists. They were formal extensions of justice and military strategy, applied by organized states. In this era, the state specialized in maximizing suffering, whether to extract a specific truth or to project deterrent power to the populace. The Iron Maiden remains a global symbol of medieval depravity, yet it exists only in the 19th century imagination. In the actual medieval record, the devices found are not spiked cabinets, but the legal decrees and administrative ledgers that authorized the use of the rack and the wheel. The true history of torture is a history of law, order, and the weaponization of human agony. The real instruments of fear were the legal codes and military doctrines that made such suffering a legitimate, documented part of the human experience.